Welcome to the Mona Beginner Crash Course. In this tutorial we will go over adding canvases to your Mona space. First we will look at examples of canvases, then we'll look at canvas settings. After that we will look at how to add a canvas, then look at things to consider when modifying the canvas asset, before wrapping up with a time lapse on our Mona Studio. Canvases allow you to add 2D media such as images or live streams in the space, even after the space has been minted. For the latest in which formats are supported, check the description below. Canvases can also link to external websites once interacted with. Canvases can have an artist, title, and description applied to them. Canvases also allow a link to an external website. This could be linked to the page to buy an NFT if displaying an NFT, but could also be any website such as your portfolio, an online store, or a company website. The canvas model can automatically scale down to the image vertically or horizontally, or the image will be cropped to the canvas model vertically or horizontally. The bounds of the canvas will always be the maximum size of the canvas regardless of which type you use. It is possible to add a frame asset to your canvas, but at the moment frames will not scale, so make sure that the canvas doesn't scale to the image. The canvas asset has very specific requirements for Mona to know that it is in fact a canvas. To add a canvas, we need to look under the _Mona assets folder. There is one canvas asset available. We need to drag the canvas onto the artifacts asset in the artifacts scene. This artifacts object also has an artifacts layer tag. If this asset is deleted, renamed, or the tag is removed, the space will not work correctly. The tags are pretty important, so let's look at those together. The canvas asset, or Canvas Prefab, does not require a tag. The canvas asset named unique canvas name _1 requires the canvas tag. The spawn point asset requires the spawn point tag. All assets you decide to add after that, such as the frame assets, should not have tags. If your canvas is not under the artifacts game object, your space will not work correctly. The best way to test this, alongside the other scenes in the space, is to collapse all the parent game objects to make sure nothing is outside of them. The canvas object itself, sometimes called the Canvas Prefab, can have any name, but of course having it named in a useful way will make things easy for you in Unity. If you look under the prefab, you will notice several child assets. The unique canvas name _1 asset is the key asset for canvases. If you are using more than one canvas, the name of this asset must be unique, otherwise the QA tool will throw an error. This name will also be used to reference which canvas you apply the media to, so it's good to use something descriptive. Make sure that it is not deleted, renamed, or the tag is removed. This asset also requires a mesh collider. Other colliders do not work. This collider is what the player recognizes as the canvas to click on. Make sure that no other colliders are covering this asset, otherwise the player will not be able to interact with it. This collider is also a physical collider, but as it is a mesh collider, it only applies from one side. That said, usually canvases will be on the wall, so this is not much of a problem. Make sure the spawn point is in a position that makes sense, such as not within a collider and has a collider to land on. The assets folder is where you can put your assets that represent the frame of the canvas. This is completely optional. As a reminder, frame assets do not scale, so if you have scale to canvas approach on the canvas, it will not look correct. If you are adding colliders to your frame assets, make sure that they do not cover the canvas itself. Otherwise, the canvas will not be able to be interacted with. It is best to scale the canvas asset itself, not the parent, as this will reduce potential issues. Select the canvas tagged asset and scale as needed. Make sure to keep the canvas away from the polygons behind it, otherwise you might get Z fighting, or polygons fighting to be in front. Just move the canvas tagged asset a little in front of the polygons behind it. When you build to the playground, your canvas should change to the Mona Coming Soon image. If not, then make sure to jump into the Mona Discord support channel to help you out. Links in the description. Getting into the time-lapse, I start adding canvases around the space. Note I will copy a previous canvas, move it to the new location, make sure to rename the canvas asset to reduce issues later, then adjust the canvas as needed. I don't need to rename the canvas prefab itself, but I tend to do so to better track which canvas is where. Make sure to adjust the scale on the canvas tagged asset, not the canvas prefab itself, as this will reduce potential issues. I will usually scroll out from a canvas to make sure that the Z fighting doesn't happen. Sometimes polygons look fine close up, but start fighting further away. This is more important in spaces that are large and open. Some canvases will be allowed to scale according to the image, and some canvases will need to be a set size. Anything within a frame, for example, will need to be fixed for best results. I tend to add to this to the canvas name, so it's easy to track this in the Mono wallet when linking images. Some of my canvases are actually very small. I should therefore use much smaller image resolution for the image, as these will not take up much screen space. As each image needs to be loaded at the start of the space, it is best to reduce the image resolution as much as possible on the images you load into canvases. Otherwise, the load time of your space will increase. Images also eat into the total file size in memory. So if you add too many images at too large a size, the space may become unstable or run poorly. The amount of canvases depend on the space. That said, due to the file size of images and the fact that each canvas adds a draw call, it's a good idea to try and optimize the amount of canvases. And if you need more for a gallery, for example, optimize the space to allow for a high number of canvases. As a general perspective, it's a good idea to create elements that tie the canvas into the space. A picture frame is great, but limited to fixed size, but there are ways to creatively approach canvases into the space that allow for different size images. An example would be using magnets on the photos in the fridge. If any of your canvases need to be 100% bright, it is possible to change the shader on the material to unlit. As this is a different material, you will need to make a copy of the original, change the shader, and apply this to the desired assets. This is good for things like screens or billboards. After that's all done, let's have a look at the space in Mono. You'll note that all the canvases are working as they have the coming soon image. That said, some of them do not register as canvases when you look at them. This is due to the collider on the asset overlapping the canvas collider. You may want these for some of them, but others you may not. As the collider on the canvas is also a physical collider, in many cases you can just move the object collider back a little. And with that you have all you need to start making fantastic spaces in Mono. Before the next video I will add a bunch of other assets and props to give the space a lot more life. If you want to see that process, I will add a link to the timelapse below. But all of that process will be what you have already learned in this series. In this tutorial, we covered examples and details of canvases, how to add a canvas, and common considerations when adding a canvas. In the next tutorial, we will upload our space to the Mono wallet and connect all of those canvases so that we can share it with the world. Thanks for watching, and happy building!